All right, I think we'll get going here. Thank you for coming. Oh, you need more volume? Test one. Do you mind if you hearing it there? Test 1, 2. How's that? I just got to talk closer into the microphone. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rowe. I am the Multimedia Administrator for the village of Elk Grove Village, Illinois. I promised myself after yesterday's session I would not do the concourse joke, so sorry. Sorry. Anyway, the session we're going to have today is planning, managing, and troubleshooting live streamed events. What we would like to do is make this as much of a conversation as possible, rather than just us talking about the different things we do. We want to hear about what you're doing and some of the things that you're running into when you are out doing those events, because everybody does it differently. So what's going to happen first is I will spend a few minutes and talk about the setup that I use, and then Patrick will do the same thing, and then Tom will do will do it from sort of the vendor side of what can be accomplished. So let's get started. Just to give you a little history about what we've been doing in Elk Grove Village, we began streaming our village board and park board meetings live starting in 2015. At that time, we were only streaming those meetings and nothing else. Then the next year, we began streaming everything to our webpage and to our on-demand webpage. I use a electronics system for playback, which if you use Cassius or Telview or one of those others, you know that doesn't quite have the features that those other systems have, and it's interesting that, of course, next year I finally have it in my budget to replace my playback system. But I wanted to talk about how things are currently set up. And then the year after that, we started live streaming of our sports, hometown parade, and other events. And just to give you an example, this is currently how our streaming is set up. We're using two boxes for streaming. The electronic system has its own streaming box called EncodeX. That is what streams to our website and to our on-demand site, the EGTV.vibit.com. The other way we stream is we use Boxcast. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they are a streaming service that basically allows you to send your signals to Roku and Amazon and Apple TV and other places like that. We had to do that because the playback system we currently have doesn't have the capability of doing more than that. I've been telling people all during the conference that I have the one and only Roku channel that Laytronics ever made. Mine was the experiment. They did it, and then they decided they didn't want to do it anymore. So, but mine is still up and running, and if you go to Roku and search for EGTV, you can see it. It actually works quite well, It's just, they just decided to move in a different direction with their playback. But Boxcast sort of solved the problem for me, because now I can stream to all these different places, and it's just a matter of just a matter of paying a monthly storage fee and a yearly fee, and I can stream as many places and as many times as I want. So for those of you who may not have a full-featured streaming playback system, this has worked out actually quite well. Dan, did you have a question?
What's the price you paid for Boxcast?
I paid $200 for the initial box, and then I pay a yearly fee of, I believe it's, I pay for storage of all the streamed programs, and that cost is dependent on how big your storage is. Last month, I think I paid about $80-90 for, yeah, because I have a lot of streams built up now through Boxcast. And then there's a yearly fee. I had told someone earlier it was $400. It's actually more than that. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly. It's right around $1,000, I believe. But so I apologize for whoever I talked to earlier about that. But like I said, the great thing about Boxcast is that you send your signal to their cloud, and then it's distributed from there to the different sources. Yes. 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 This is our current playback system, Ultra Nexus HD, the Encode X, which, like I said, again, I use to go to my web page, and also my Vibit on-demand site. And this is the basic Boxcast signal, and basically it's just an HDMI in. It can take composite. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it's there. And it sends out an IP signal, which again goes up to their cloud, and then they distribute it to the different things. One of the things, it's not exactly a drawback, but in order to watch our stream with the Boxcast things, except for Facebook and YouTube, is you have to, there's a Boxcast app you have to download, and then search for EGTV within that app. And that way you can see the stream. And it's an extra step, and it's hopefully something we can eventually eliminate. But for now, that's how, especially on like Apple TV and other set-top boxes, you kind of have to do that extra step in order to get it. From the field, we decided to use bonded cellular. The great thing about it is that it is rock solid. For those of you who may not be familiar with this is a live view unit, and it's interesting that actually this is the live view unit that's going to sunset at the end of the year. But the live view unit has 3 modems inside of it, and what it does is that it jumps back and forth depending on which services have the strongest signal. Then it comes back to a server that's in my playback room, and then the output of that server is just an input into our switcher. And so we can automate it, and all you have to do basically is turn it on, and oops, let me go forward here. And it's easy. You press the button at the bottom to turn it on. You press it again to start it transmitting. You press it again to stop it. It can also work off of Wi-Fi if that's what you have to deal with. And it is, I consider it the best purchase I've ever made for our channel. Yes.
Do you pay live view for the cell time, or did you buy the unit outright and you?
I pay live view for the cell time, and it comes to about $2,000, a little over $2,000 a year. Yes.
I want to make sure I'm understanding. CellView has 3 modems.
Yes.
So it's bonding the cellular data from each of those 3 modems, which are 3 different providers.
Right. Sprint, Verizon, and AT&T.
Right. Now, you're paying for those sources through the one contract with Bellevue?
Yes.
Wow, so that's all worked out.
So it's all worked out. I don't have to negotiate things with different companies. It does it all through, in my opinion, because I can go live from anywhere with it.
They have a negotiated contract with all of the cell providers already, and with Verizon and AT&T, you actually get cellular priority. So I was living in Kenosha when all this stuff was happening 2 years ago. I had 0 cell service when I saw these out there, and I asked the guy. I said, why can't I do anything when I see live view runs? Like, we literally have agreements that our plans get cellular priority to get the news and the media out over your standard users. So places where you're not gonna, like, you know.
So you're at a local event,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're doing live view,
Yep.
and their contract says there's 10,000 people in this event, but you got private
You go to the top of the
all
list.
that.
You go to top of the list. Yep.
All the big news stations have gone to this. The old days of microwave trucks, gone.
man.
They use this. And then they have cellular versions and they have non-cellular versions. I have places that go point to point between 2 buildings, say from your common council to where you broadcast from, or your school to wherever. As long as it's on the same network, you can just use Ethernet and Wi-Fi bonding, and it will do the video transmission for you. So.
Yeah. You.
What was that?
How's 5G gonna change anything?
No, not really. I mean, you're getting more speed out of it.
Yeah.
With their bigger boxes, the LEU 600 and above, it'll do 4K streaming, HEVC, so you can get that.
Yeah. We've just upgraded this unit with new modems to handle the 5G. So it's and like I said, it has been completely rock solid for what we're doing.
Maybe it's a question later on.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. Thank you.
Forget my question, but
Well, before we had bonded cellular, we had to do things in a different way. We had a couple of Teradek boxes we were using, and this was several years ago, and so it required us to use whatever local network or local Wi-Fi was available. And at that time, we made the decision to buy a hotspot, because you never know what if you've been to as many hotels as I have, or schools, or stadiums, you know that it can be a real crapshoot as to how you're going to connect, so you can get your signal either back to your station or directly to the web. I should mention, by the way, that the live view unit can also stream directly to Facebook and YouTube and all those others if you need that sort of capability. It also there is also a remote website you can log into and control the live view from a browser. Yes.
On your streaming from live view to the other sources, is it, if you do it to 1 versus 2, 3, or 4, it increases the amount of money you pay for that
No.
production?
No, it does not.
Because the price is your live view data, sending your video signal to their server. Them restreaming it out to multiple places doesn't cost any extra. I streamed my wedding with one of these. I had a COVID wedding.
There
So
you
I
go.
had like 10 people there, and I had 100 some people watching live on YouTube. I created my own private link. I sent it to my family. I had a buddy come out, had brought 2 cameras in a little Sling studio. I hooked it up to this, to my live view, and it was a great key code demo. Showed it worked. So, but yeah, like I was out in the middle of nowhere on a lake.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you're not using one of these bonded cellular, or, if you're still using something that needs either Wi-Fi or an Ethernet connection, you want to check it before the live shoot. You want to go, when you do your site check, you should be checking to see if the place will let you use their network. And I've run into that several times where we were doing stuff at Elk Grove High School, and at first they refused to let us use their network. So that's something you might want to check. And sometimes you get to places that are really spotty. We have a place called the Enclave that is a new business incubator, as they like to call it, in Elk Grove. And we did what was supposed to be a live broadcast from their office, and this was before we had the live view. We were using Teradek, an old Teradek system, and we found out that the Wi-Fi wouldn't work in the room we needed to shoot in. The building used to be a bank, and we were situated in a room that was next to the safe. And the Wi-Fi, there was just this big blank spot, at the place we had set up. And of course, we didn't check that ahead of time, so that's something you certainly should look at. Also remember, in places, for example, I do a lot of sports, and Patrick will talk about this, I'm sure, when we can do sports, is that these days, when you're at a stadium, there's 10, 20,000 people sometimes, and they're all on their phones. So all I can tell you to do is get as close to one of their hubs as you can, if you're doing that. But what I really recommend is the bonded cellular, because it's just easy. It's just easy. You turn it on and you go. That's pretty much the things I've run into. I'm now going to invite Patrick Cook, who is the Technical Services Manager for 9 North in the St. Paul suburbs, to come up and talk a little bit about what he's doing.
All right, let's see here. I guess thing will all fit on the podium.
Get this out of the way.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, there's part of the screen, and now more. All right. I'm going to, well, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to stick here because we're going to run through these a little quicker. So let me see if I can make this bigger. So for our streaming, one of the things that we use is we're using to go to social media. What are we going to? Social media, we're trying to do a backhaul. Social media, a couple of the boxes I like, or one of the boxes I really like, is the AJA Hilo, which is some might call it an appliance, video in, network stream out. It works really well. We use this to stream city council meetings. We have also used the Matrox Monarch. There are things I like and dislike about each one of them. We also, as Ross had mentioned, use the bonded cellular. So we have a live view unit. We also have Comrex units. So Comrex is another company. They were out here. If you talk to them, they were showing a lot of radio and audio stuff, but the one box he had was the live shot, and we really like those a lot. We had, as we were refranchising, the cable company had an obligation for an iNet, which was a separate cable network to bring back signals. We convinced them to turn that into unlocked cable modems. So we have 3 unlocked cable modems, so we can go anywhere in our system, actually anywhere in the metro, plug that cable modem in, and we have data now, and then we can plug our live view into that, so or our Comrex unit. And they both use cellular modems, they'll both use Wi-Fi, they'll both use hardwired. Hardwired's great if you can get it, because it's arguably more reliable. Because you don't have a whole bunch of, again, you can have a whole bunch of people show up, and even though if you're paying for live view's data plan, you're at the top of the list, you're still going to have some congestion. You can purchase a live view outright and then purchase your own cell data for them. Some people do that and they get on the public safety contract. Public safety also has higher priority. If you're a city or a municipality or a county, you might be able to do that. So that's another way to get data, maybe at a cheaper rate, or rolled into a plan, make that so it's not an ongoing cost all the time. And of course, those we could use with either the Comrex or the live view. And as Tom mentioned, they come in rack mount units, they come in portable units. They're really handy. I'm just going to sort of skip through these. I like them both equally. Let's talk about a little bit more, not as portable, but some industrial. I'll say industrial, but a little more fixed base. Here's a high vision Makito. This is what we use to connect all of our city halls back to our facility. Now, we do have a wide area network that we do that through, but these guys work really well. One thing we do with a lot of technology is that we'll purchase, with our 10 cities, we purchased the first 5, and then I actually added the other 5 by going on eBay and finding used units. And I think that something Ross had mentioned yesterday is don't be afraid of used equipment. And I actually like buying used equipment that I already have the other, because I know what it does, I know what it should do. A lot of times the price is such that, hey, if it works, perfect. If it doesn't work, some manufacturers will actually repair it cheaper than buying the new unit, so you actually can save that way. You can only do that so many times, they can figure that out. But anyway, so that's an option for if you want to upgrade. Like the point for us for upgrading is we used to have analog modulators and the on the iNet, and now this brought it all up to digital. So again, rock solid. The high vision, and one of the standards that a lot of people are starting to use for remote is SRT. High Vision, who makes the Makito, originated that and is now open source that. Again, their stuff can be a little costly, but once it's in place, it's good stuff. Ross talked about Boxcast. I want to talk a little bit about Wowza streaming server. There's a couple others out there that'll do similar things, but this is a server that we're running in our facility. It runs the Wowza streaming engine, and it's our streaming hub. So it's the thing that if we're remote with our laptop, and I'll show that in a moment, or even if we're in the studio with the Makitos sending a feed, the Helos from City Hall, they come into Wowza, and we can then we stream those. So our city council meetings come into Wowza, and we stream those to the home viewer on our webpage using our own server. We are limited by the bandwidth that we have available, but we have a gigabit connection to the internet. So I think we stress tested about 150 concurrent users, but even with 9 or 10 cities, we never have that many people wanting to watch the same meeting at the same time, or all live at that point in time. And if we do, we have actually just spun up a version of Wowza in the cloud, so we can actually move those things to that. But Wowza has really been a tool that we've liked a lot. Here's our little remote streaming system. So we're using a Mac laptop and running Telestream Wirecast software. But OBS was mentioned earlier. OBS is a good freeware program. And vMix is another one that's out there. It has a cost, but it entire production system within that software. But what we do is we stream. Again, we record to disk, but we also stream. Let's see if I can make this work. Here you can see the URL of our Wowza server, wowza1.c315.org. That then goes to our Wowza server. Here's the laptop stream coming in. We also have some other streams on this particular application. As you can see, this is just a partial list of the applications we have. But then that allows us to pick it up on our Tightrope server, and many other server manufacturers have the ability now to pick up streams off the internet. That could be, for our server side, that could be a YouTube stream, it could be some other stream, but in our case it's our own stream. And but to get it there, and I was talking with the Tightrope folks, I said, can I stream right from my Hilo or from my laptop to my Tightrope system? And basically you still need an intermediary. You need to push that stream to something and then it comes down to your system. In our case, we use our Wowza server. Wowza, it costs us as a nonprofit about $85 a month. We built our own server. It's running on Linux. It takes a little bit of IT support to run it. One of the large IT organizations in the Twin Cities, Logis, for their cities actually have implemented a Wowza server. So those communities that are part of Logis can actually talk to IT and use their Wowza server, so they don't actually have to run their own server. So that's something that may be happening. And then finally, you can see here is my stream on the software, and it's going to my multi-viewer. So that's one of the things that we're talking about troubleshooting I wanted to talk about. So this is our multi-viewer, and I'm streaming our multi-viewer live. For doing live programming, it's really helpful. We can see the studio feed right here. They just got done with chamber check-in, so moments ago we had the host sitting in here. But if I'm doing a live feed, it's really nice. I can send that laptop stream, and as you saw on my test here, I pulled that live stream up and looked at it in my multi-viewer. Now, if I'm in the office, that's great, but if I'm remote, like I'm here, I can also look at the live feed and I can see that stream coming back. So that's, I think, pretty cool. The way I'm streaming that, and let's see, I've got some pictures here. I texted them to myself. But it literally is, it's sort of, you can't really see it, but it's a Mac Mini that's in this chassis. And that Mac Mini is taking the video of our multi-viewer through a adapter like an Hilo, or AJA UTAP, to convert the SDI into a USB, which I then can run into the Mac, and then I'm just running OBS. So I'm running OBS 24/7, which is the free streaming software to stream out my multi-viewer, and then I can look at it on the web. It's a tool that we can use. Our master control operator's remote. She can view it there. I can pull it up on my phone. So that's a really handy, both a troubleshooting thing to do if you have some old hardware and a place to stream it to do that can be very helpful. All right. In fact, this is the actual machine which is streaming the multi-viewer right now. It's just running OBS. All right. Let me get back to this. Another tool that we use a lot, or not a lot, but have used, are these Ubiquity dishes. So, little dish here. We did a shoot where we were at a local hotel. We were not, as Ross said, we talked to them and they didn't have internet for us. They, at that point, this was a while back, but they just did not have sufficient internet. So we actually set up a link with these dishes. We created a mast. We bought a piece of conduit, stuck it on a tripod, stuck it on top of the truck, pointed it back to the building. We had rooftop line of sight. The distance between us was about, over 2,000 feet. These dishes are actually rated at like 5 kilometers. But if you keep the distances short, they work really well. We use it a lot to get from the football field to the building. In fact, the school district has now installed these same dishes to get to the football field, and our relationship with them, we've actually trunked our video VLAN. He's trunked that to the football field, so now I have a jack in the press box that's on our network. So we're not using the internet. We can stream. We actually stream there with the Makito because we don't need the bonded cellular at that point. And then I had a whole bunch of slides here about our doing multilingual translation and sort of how all this stuff ties together. I'm going to run through this quick so that Tom has some. But what we ended up doing is when COVID started, Twin Cities PBS, Twin Cities Public Television, came to us, and their studio was shut down at the point, but they wanted to restream or to provide to the public Spanish translation of the governor's talks that he had bi-weekly and such. So we actually brought our linguist Leo into the studio. We put him in a PIP. We would pick up add his to the stream and send it back out. By the time we were done, we actually had Hmong and Somali as well. So we ended up with 2 video outputs and 4 languages all coming through the system. And this is sort of where it ties it together. So we use the Minnesota Media Pool, which is, again, using live view. So all the broadcast call letter stations have live view units. They put it up to the media pool on important events, and it's how they use it to share press conference and those kinds of things. The governor was there, so we picked him up. We pulled it off a live view. We ran it through production. We put it into a Makito X, which generated a number of different multicast streams. We sent it to Wowza. Wowza then sent it to social media because with the Wowza we can push it directly to social media. So we pushed it to TPT Now's Facebook page. We pushed it to the Hmong Facebook page. And we also sent that stream back downtown to TPT so that they could put that on TPT Now, which is the .5, I think 2.5 broadcast. These are the encoders, the way it was set up. Here you can see the streams in Wowza. These are coming from the Makito, and then of course we can push it all out to Facebook. So, but anyways, just to sort of recap, Wowza, I think it's a good tool, and it's one of those things we use a lot, and I would recommend looking at it or Boxcast. Like I said, get creative with how you're thinking about these streams. If maybe you're maybe you don't stream your multi-viewer all the time, but you're doing a live event, so you generate a second stream from your facility just for that purpose. That is something that could be done. So with that, I guess I'll stop here and let Tom start unless anybody had any questions. That was quick, but I want to make sure we have time for more questions when we're done here. All right.
Thank you so much. I got kind of a 2-part system. We have Daniel from Rowe or from Castus logging in here in a quick second. Daniel, we got you there?
I am here.
Perfect. So, we're going to have Daniel go over just a little bit of the options with Castus to, how they can get video in and out and do live streaming through their systems. Ross mentioned, using Lightronics and VBIT and Encodex and all that sort of stuff. So, we have those options here with Castus as well, using their quick roll and quick stream products and whatnot. So I will give you the floor, Daniel, if you want to go over a couple of things here, and then we'll open it up after this here.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here virtually with you. And I'm Daniel. I am from Castus, and I am out of Boston, Massachusetts on the East Coast. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of briefly go over a lot of the connectivity options Castus offers, because Castus is all about connect with us. And so we have obviously our on-prem server solutions that do upload, schedule, play, and streaming all from the box. And then we have our cloud environment infrastructure that does everything all in one cloud environment as well. What I want to do now is I'm just going to quickly share my screen to kind of show off some visuals of the protocols and everything that we support. So if you can see here, we have our system where it will do, bear with me here, I'm just navigating through Zoom. So our connectivity will go, everything that you can think of from main protocols is supported. So RTMP, NDI, HLS, SRT, and more. We take all that natively right into the on-prem server box or into, we support any encoder type as well. And what we'll do, that will feed right into the box. No other additional hardware needed. The box and the software will decode all of that natively for you. And then it will go right out of the box to streaming. So you can have all of your inputs configured. A lot of our customers will go out to broadcasting on cable, so they can literally send any one of these protocols to the box and then take that live on cable. But we also offer the option to just send this right from the box to streaming as well, or right from any encoder to stream out directly to the cloud. From our cloud environment, you can also restream to your most popular OTT platforms. But then we also have our mobile apps and our custom mobile apps and our video on demand. So what that can do is that can take anything that you send right to the cloud. You can send it right to on-prem, or you can send it right to the cloud, and you can send it from on-prem right to the cloud as well. So a lot of flexibility with that, but it allows you to have the ability to restream and connect to your custom branded video on demand site or our custom branded mobile app for your station as well. The other things that we do as well is, again, we say we support, the protocols through any encoder. We will also be launching something this summer we're very excited about, where you can send something right from an encoder to the cloud with barely any setup. And so look out for that as well. We also have, for anyone who needs to go out and do streaming on a cell phone, we also have something, we support that through the protocols of the cell phone as well. So as long as anything that you're using supports RTMP, SRT, or NDI, you can use your device and use our services to send streams right from anywhere that you're at to either on-prem or right to the cloud. And then again, from there, it just gets restreamed or redistributed out automatically to all your OTT platforms. And bear with me for a second here, because what we have done and what we have seen is we've seen a lot of people and a lot of connectivity. So I also wanted to show this as well, where kind of your typical field setup, but you either are going to have a cell phone, you're going to have a video camera, and you're going to be connected to the internet. And basically, you're just going to do these protocols to your playout server. But we've also done a lot with just connectivity, between stations and connectivity between platforms and creating more relevance and visibility among your content. So this is just kind of a diagram showing that workflow as well, because ultimately this gets distributed to other stations that can pull that in, and also simultaneously going out to broadcast and to streaming. And then again, to all your OTTs and your mobile apps as well. So it really just starts with your video source, whether that's a camera, a cell phone, or if you have a switcher connected to an encoder, or if your switcher is an encoder all in one. You can use our cloud RTMP protocols to stream to anywhere you need to go, whether it's directly to the cloud, to on-prem, or distributing among other stations as well. So we do this in a very automated way so that you can get your content where it needs to be. A lot of our users are broadcasting out to cable. That's really important. But a lot of our users are going now right to the cloud. And we're supporting both environments there as well. And just making this more and more automated, making it so you can receive either hardware or that you just have software that you're using, and you can take whatever source that you're looking for and split it right to the cloud environment, and then have it automatically restreamed and redistributed from there. And again, this is being done in a custom branded way so that your station is the mobile app that that your viewers are downloading on the iOS or Apple Store. It's your platform they are seeing when they go to the website to watch and streaming. And again, it's just a workflow that's being distributed out to other stations because we know that content is becoming more widely relevant to multiple communities instead of just hyperlocal. So hyperlocal is now becoming, hyperlocal is expanding. So this is a lot of the workflow that we are doing on a daily basis with our users. Very automated way. A lot of it is being supported in the cloud now because we know that's the most secure and stable environment to use the streaming and OTT, and just how it all connects so synergistically. And with that, I will stop this and I will turn it back to Tom.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. So like as Ross said, now we'll kind of open it up to what questions you guys might have with kind of anything that we covered or any other problems or issues you may be having with products that we have here. We've talked about, whether it's Lightronics, Makito, LiveView, Castis, anything like that. Any other problems or, little gotchas that you may have been thinking of? Yes. From my opinion, you can have all in one, but then if your box goes down, everything's down. So I prefer to have a backup. Like John and Ross and they were saying, I would prefer to have like an AJ Hilo. They're great. Like I said, it's a little pricey, but it works. The biggest problem we have is all of the encoding on the streaming side. They constantly update their APIs that work, and that's what breaks it with TriCaster. So if YouTube, Facebook, Google, they'll update their API, and all of a sudden, you don't know it until you go try to stream the meeting, it doesn't stream. So what do you have to do? Update the TriCaster, update whatever you have, because those plugins are different. Where when you're doing hardware encoding, like with Makitos for point-to-point, or AJ Hilos, it's all hardware at that point. You're not dealing with the software side of things, which is why it doesn't break.
Yeah, software is a pain, so I just thought I'd mention that.
But firmware, you can have firmware updates on even the Hilo, which Facebook changed. Now the Hilo doesn't work, you gotta wait for AJ to push. So it can happen with any.
Yeah.
But a strategy, might be with Castis or like we're using Tightrope is to tell your TriCaster to stream back to your station, then you have your station or your to your server there, stream it to the social media sites you're on. Then you have some more flexibility. It's also easier to get it onto the cable channel. Conversely, South Washington County, who I work with, they stream with their vMix to Facebook so they can pick it up on their tightrope system. So instead of having to use, we have Wowza, which is our, personal CDN. Castus has their cloud service. Tightrope does. They actually decided that they're going to go to Facebook, and then they can tell their cablecast server to pull that stream in off of Facebook. So they actually use Facebook as a CDN. So you can go either direction, but these servers are always going to update. And the best things to check,
You check it just every so often. Check and see. Software updates are usually a lot more than the hardware firmware updates with stuff. But like you said, you can still have it. I think I had one of my cities, their helos, they didn't update them for a year, and stuff happens. Biggest thing too is knowing what your streaming provider wants. Facebook still to this day, if you're going to push to pages, they prefer 720. If you give them a 4K, it chokes on it and it drops the stream, and there's nothing to do about it. So you almost have to have a dedicated hardware streamer just for that, because there's so much video going to Facebook. They still only want 720. So you can be shooting 4K all you want, but you're gonna have drop frames, you're gonna have problems with the stream, all that sort of stuff. So that's where having an offboard encoder to, okay, this is going to here, or using stuff like Castus to do that restream, it knows the setting to use to push to this. So definitely helps it that way. Yes, sir.
You're all worried that I'm going to say something untoward. So in that same vein, to go like for a field remote,
Yep.
Either TriCaster, A10 Mini, take your pick. Because those have built-in encoders that send out to my video server or wherever it happens. Am I understanding correctly that your opinions are to have that extra live view or teardown video or whatever extra encoder is probably the better way to go than just using that onboard encoder, if for no other reason than just kind of a fallback?
I prefer that. Also, if you're remote, you need to be on the same network to be able to push back to wherever you want to go. Are you going to go to your teleview system, or are you going to go directly to YouTube and Facebook? If you want to go live from your meetings, remotely, or you want to live broadcast the football game or your parade or whatnot, then yeah, you're going to have to do a live view or a bonded cellular or whatever to get back to your system at your head end. Or if you're going to go direct, then would I prefer it? Yeah. Because once you start throwing, these boxes can do so many things, and you're going to have a hiccup at some point in time. I'd rather offload the streaming, which is hardware encoding, usually an H.264, which is extremely processor heavy. I'd rather take that load off of the box, let it switch as it's designed to be a switcher, take the video output, and put it in a dedicated box that's built for hardware encoding.
Actually, you could look at the built-in as the backup.
Correct, and that, yep.
And the dedicated one is the primary.
And most of these things, like say you're gonna go back to like your television system or your casting, receive both. Have both
Right.
on. Use the hardware one as a primary. Something happens with that, you can go into the system, receive the other RTMP that's coming from your system. It's just one of those things, you need to have multiple options. So, in terms of full remote production, point to point with network, bonded cellular, the live view will do Wi-Fi and wired as well. It's all options.
To me, there's sort of two categories here. That's when I started out. Is you go into social media, or you just bringing it back to the station. In the bonded cellular, the live view, the Convex TVU, those are great because you get the gear. They have a web interface. They talk to each other. It really doesn't take a lot to get that running, and they have great tech support. When you're doing the other streaming, you need not much, just a little more support, and then you have to consider what you're doing. You know, like the Conrex, you know, it has Anton Bauer battery mounts. You literally mount it between your camera and the battery, and you can go anywhere. Same thing with LiveView. Oh, and LiveView also has their LiveView Smart app, so you can use now the thing with LiveView is you want the LiveView Smart app, pay for it. You know, so it's flexible, but it's a higher cost product.
Yeah, basically, I did that to simplify things. Just, you know, I didn't want to have to, you know, troubleshoot a whole bunch of stuff. I could just turn, like I said, turn it on, connects back to the server, and I'm good to go. And I want to, you know, I tell the Boxcast when to turn on and when to start transmitting, and it does it. And I don't have to worry about it. I know it's all, you know, I always check it, you know, when we go live, I always check all the different services to make sure everything's there. But for the most part, I don't have to worry about it. Yep.
Does LiveView, bonded LiveView, create its own private internet space?
Certain models can. LU 600 and above will do ad hoc Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yeah.
Thanks. And that's a LiveView.
Yeah. So there's different models. It starts with that LiveView Solo, which is just USB, and it'll just go just to like social media. And you can go to the LU 200 like Ross has, and that will go to social media and or to the LiveView Central, which will push to your server that's back home, which will take video out, SDI out into your playout system or whatnot. And then you can go up higher to like the 2,000, the 4,000, 6,000, I think or sorry, 200, 400, 600, 800 is the new one. Yeah. And it's all different features. How many modems do you want to be able to bond together? Well, you want to do 4K streaming, you want to do ad hoc Wi-Fi. Realistically, the 200 is what we're seeing a lot of places go to. If you want ad hoc Wi-Fi, sure, you could do bonded, but it's probably just cheaper to go get a hotspot off your phone, in the grand scheme of things. Unless you need to have a lot of stuff set up. I've even had, there's like Cradlepoint makes a wireless router that has USB modem capability, so you can go get a USB modem from AT&T, plug it in the back of a router, gives you 4 network out and Wi-Fi that way. It's not bonded, but do you need bonding to do basic internet double checking your screen, that sort of stuff? Probably not. It all comes down to cost at that point in time.
Okay, I just got the wrap signal from Deb. So I'd like to thank you all for coming. I hope we were able to help you out, and if you do have other questions, please feel free to contact us. I think a couple of us will be around till 3 o'clock, but thank you for coming.
Thanks much, Dan.
And don't forget to fill out your evaluation form, please. I don't know when you're muted.